Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. Maggie Wolfendale and Andy Serling, and it's nice to be back with you. It was just a week ago we were in Saratoga.
Yeah, how quickly things change.
Yeah, nice to have you back. You were
No,
at Monmouth
likewise.
yesterday, and
Yeah.
good time at Monmouth. Good racing down there yesterday.
It really was. It was fun. I mean, a dead heat in the Monmouth as well. And
It was a close. I think we showed 6 races. Well, I was on 4 of them.
well, photos.
Yeah.
It was like the photo show, but a good return, I thought, by Bright Future, who
Looked like he was going to be last on the turn.
like being eased
Yeah.
around the turn, and then he starts rallying again once he got in the straight and winning with his ears going back and forth. Like it was the easiest thing in the world. So, we need more handicap horses, and the
the older
more that
horses.
put on good shows like that, the funner that division becomes.
I agree, and you got to think that all things. If he stays sound, hopefully he will. He'll head towards the Whitney, where
Yep.
hopefully National Treasure will come back. I have
Exactly.
to imagine First Mission. I imagine he'll be
Yep.
running in the Foster, and then he'll point there as well. So we like to see more good horses, and I agree. He's miles a little short for him. And,
Right.
I didn't look up the fig. Did you?
I didn't look it up.
I
either.
looked at the other figs. I saw that 99 for Tuscan Gold, who obviously got not Tuscan Sky.
Sky,
who
yeah.
got a very good trip, while others had
He
a less
did,
than good one. But
right.
still, big
I
win
was-
for him.
I don't know what they were thinking with C Streak.
I don't think of any of them.
I mean, C Streak, he broke slow, and then last time he won by tucking in and saving ground, sitting just off the pace.
was bizarre.
Instead, you go 5 wide. I still respect that horse a lot.
It was a bizarrely run race, to say the least.
Bizarre.
The horse that surprised me the most down there was Tax Implications, who has been incredibly mediocre and really disappointing. She ran big yesterday.
Huge. Yeah, it was a funny turf course too, where, it seemed, I think because there was probably a little bit more moisture in it than we kind of thought, and it looked like they were going slow on the front end, but it seemed like closers.
Coming back after race after race, I
Yep.
agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got 9 to talk about today. We are fast, we are firm. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200, and we will match for $200 of your initial deposit. We have track stats. Of course, check out the track stats while you're over at Naira Bets as well. We have a middle pick 4, races 2, 3, and 6 for the pick 4s on today's card. We have, I'm just not sure the order, I think it's the 11%. No, we have cross country pick 5. 3 at Monmouth, 2 here. All those races will be shown at America's Day at the Races. The Get Serious is the last race there. We have an 11% win bonus on the Spectacular Bid, race number 3 today. Maggie and I will be talking about where the house horse, the Big Torpedo, is going to be the horse to beat in that race. I think, like you, I think he's pretty good, actually. And try to follow along here, because I just can't imagine what could possibly go wrong with this one. I mean, just, you look at it, you think, smooth sailing.
Channel surfing.
12:30 to 2 on FS2, 2 to 3 on FS1, 3 to 5 on FS2, 5 to 6 on FS1. And I'm not betting that pick 4 comes in exactly the way it's listed there, but we'll hope for the best. Anyway, you are on early or late?
Early.
Early.
And happy Father's Day
Oh, yeah,
to all
happy
the
Father's
fathers
Day.
out
Yes,
there.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
What did you do for Tom this morning?
Sent
Just
him
you
a
weren't mean to him?
I got up with him this morning. Usually I'm like, oh, go
You spoke to
away. I'm like, all right. I forgot to say Happy Father's Day when we got up. But then I sent him a video of the girls, so he appreciated that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be a nice Father's Day for him, obviously, if he wins the stake as well.
Yeah.
Anyhow, racing, and I will say, Father's Day is the day that I'm most sad we're not at Belmont.
Yeah.
Because it really is, outside of Belmont Stakes Day, our biggest day of the year, and we feel bad. And people that are wondering why Equestris wouldn't be open today, because there's a reasonable question. We don't have air conditioning up there. And the last thing we want to do is have a bunch of families come up there in the sweltering heat and be miserable. We know, because we have our studio, and I'm not complaining. I love the studio up in Equestris, but there's
And this is why I'm very happy to be outside during my job today.
Yeah, and it's, and I was thinking when I first heard Equestris wasn't open, I'm like, how could these idiots not open Equestris? And then
same thing.
for considering I'm the one guy among about 6 of us that spends a lot of time at Equestris, there's no air conditioning,
like
so
an
that's
oven.
why we're not open. But
Easy bake
it is
oven.
a fun day, but we hope the fathers are enjoying it, and imagine they'll have a big crowd at Monmouth Park as well, and hopefully some of you will come out and join us at the Big A. Race number 1. There were scratches in the first 2 races. I will say, I don't know about you.
I wasn't affected.
I didn't think that any of them were
No.
major players. And I think as we show the replay of She's a Little Edgy, I'm running second, Icy Reply. The question is, will somebody challenge her early? And really the only one that you would think on paper can go, as we can show that replay, Eddie, Eddie's having a
Poor
rough
Eddie.
morning. Eddie's having a rough morning. Look who won, by the way, at church yesterday. My favorite horse, Webslinger.
Yes,
Found some class relief.
I know. I was going a race later. I picked a horse because he was in the running lines.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
Amongst
we're
others.
distracting ourselves while we're searching for a replay, apparently. Anyhow,
Eddie.
I'm going to try to beat She's a Little Edgy, who really does need the lead to win. I have to think Irad's going to be aggressive with Fancy Azteca,
You would
don't you?
have to think so. Exactly. That's what I thought. And last time, Fancy Azteca was battling on the inside, and now she's drawn towards the outside. So I think
Yep.
that's even a little bit more of an incentive to at least be aggressive and push She's a Little Edgy a bit more from that inside draw. Yeah. You're kind of banking on the fact that they go out there and at least set some honest fractions, which sometimes doesn't happen around here when we're both taking I'm Buzzy. But at the end of the day, I'm Buzzy's just getting class relief, I think.
Big time class relief in here, and I like her at 6.5. It gets a rider change to Dylan Davis. I'm with you. I just think there's a lot of things going on with the horse. And we have seen her close into paces that weren't.
Particularly, Andy lost
This
his
is
mind.
not one of these great. This is not a great tie for the
What
tie.
is it, slippery?
It's a little slippery. I happen to like this tie, but
Yeah, it looks
it's
good
a
with
little
the shirt.
slippery.
I like it with
Let me
the
tell you,
shirt.
this
combo.
shirt is really comfortable.
Who makes it?
It's Boss. All my stuff's Boss,
Oh, okay.
basically. But it's a very nice shirt. Anyway,
Yeah.
I have a special affinity for this shirt. Anyway, you've heard enough of that
gonna get
silliness.
into that.
We're just hoping I'm Buzzy with the class relief. And
Right.
I feel like she's actually not really badly lost her form. I just think
She's
she's
been
in tough
consistent.
spots.
Exactly. You look at her numbers and she's been consistent and she kind of runs her race each and every time. It's just sometimes she's not good enough, but I feel like in this spot she is.
We'll see what happens here. What about She's Awesome off that big win? I want to see it against better horses.
Well, looking at your track trends, you said that it wasn't necessarily a aided speed biased racetrack,
and
but
she wasn't in front, but it might have
accentuated, performances. But right, she wasn't in front. I don't know. Linda was ready to get rid of her.
I looked up some stats. Off the claim, off a win, claim from Linda Rice off a win in the dirt, 13 for 79, 16% with a $1.29 ROI, suggesting they don't necessarily run back to those numbers.
Yeah.
Race number 2. We'll start with Gun Maestro in race number 2, if Eddie can get that video up. I know you're struggling down there, Eddie. Oh, look at that. Now you're right on top of things. I'm going to let this horse beat me. I thought there was at least a little bit of an advantage to speed last time. This horse walked in the front end. I will say one thing about this race. I thought it was better than the one before it, but isn't this just a much tougher group?
That's what I thought. And look, just looking at him, and I know he's looking for his 3rd win in a row, but those were through the condition claimers. Now he has to face opens who are a little bit more established. And I know he's winning by open lengths here, but he's on the wrong lead. I haven't particularly liked him in the paddock, and that's rare for a Linda Rice horse. I was willing to look elsewhere, like you.
And we both taken the 4. In fact, we've taken the same 3 horses, 1, 2,
Fine.
3 here. Talk about Hold the Flight.
Hold the Flight. Last time, I thought it was kind of somewhat of a passive ride because he was sitting close right off the pace and then kind of retreated around the turn. But looking at it, looking at those horses, and he's being cut in half off the claim here for Mike Maselli. Those were better horses. Just overall, he has faced better horses. And if you go back to just 9 months to a year ago, this horse is running races that decimate this field.
And I think that field is better than it looks last time, looking at some of those horses. I think
Yeah.
what may have happened to Trevor was he was forward because they went slow the first quarter, but then it sped up so severely in the second quarter that it was hard for him to keep
True.
that position. I think that's more what happened. I don't
Yeah.
love the fact that the horse was claimed for 20 and is running for 10. I don't love that, but I'm still going to just think he might be better. If he runs back to race 3 back, good trip or not, he's going to be tough. And to me, it's sort of like the drop downs. And yeah, Candy Tycoon drops again, and he was lucky to get second from Skylander in the drop down field. And he's not really a winning type, but he certainly fits here. Cheeky Tico gets Irad. It is a good switch. I'm not a big Cheeky Tico fan,
Me neither.
but I've got him 4th. I'm more 4s and 7s, just like you are. The 2 horses
Exactly.
dropping that have just faced better horses.
There was this point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to be crazy and put Horn of Plenty on top. He was completely lost any sort of form that he even had. But even like his good races, I just don't think are good enough here. So, you know, I just
looked at him long and
because
hard.
of Gus having a good meet.
Romero Mirage was on a big long shot winner for him.
Yeah.
But my gosh, this horse left here in utter disgrace. And it's not like he's moving him up or anything. He's dropping the bottom. I looked at him for a long time as well. I looked at Rusty's G550, who has the back races. But the reality of this horse is, you know, you look and say, well, this horse was claimed by Bruce Kravitz, who's winning at 6%. But that's not really the story. The story is really the 24% trainer had the horse before it.
Yeah.
And that's more the story. And it feels like now that this horse is out, because that horse came back on 3 weeks from the other trainer, and now the form is just dissipated. Maybe Mike Maselli can wake him up.
Well, I mean, look, Kira McGee in Maryland and Tim Kreiser in Penn National are high percentage trainers. So, right, I don't know if he can wake him up here. Again, he's another one I looked at, but just really couldn't find any concrete evidence to say.
His form has fallen apart since he's been with a couple of high percentage trainers.
And it's been falling apart for a while.
Yep.
It's not like those good races were just, you know, 6 to 9 months ago.
No, I agree. I tried to make cases for them. I could not. Race number 3, the Big Torpedo. I am not trying to beat the Big Torpedo in the third
I am.
race.
Sorry,
I'm waiting
Tom.
for Maggie. I'm waiting the
I
picks.
love
Eddie,
Torpedo.
you're falling asleep with a switch. I know it's a turn back. This horse ran very well last time, and it's not that he had a bad trip, because he didn't have a particularly bad trip. He might have moved a little
it's
early.
Like hindsight's 2020.
Well, the winner also got an absolutely,
Dream
we
trip.
can pick that race up, had an absolutely perfect ride from Flavien Prat. Everything went well. So it's like, yeah, in retrospect, did Eric move a little soon? Maybe, but that's unfair to him.
Yeah.
He lost to a horse that just got a better trip, and a horse
And
they
were
bet
betting him off
like
the
he couldn't
board.
lose.
Exactly. This horse, he's just so game. We all love him. He's definitely a barn favorite.
I think he's too good for these horses.
He might be. And look, it's not like he's completely devoid of speed with the turn back. He's not going to be completely outpaced
Eric
here.
has got to make sure he gets position. And, you know, you guys are loyal to Eric, and Eric needs to return that by making sure he gets position. Now, that position may be 4 lengths off the lead, but he cannot fall back to last in this race. He's got to make sure he maintains position from the inside.
Yes, exactly. I went with a horse that I just thought that, you know, Big Torpedo is going to be a short price in here, and I thought, let me take a shot here with one that I know is going to have speed. I don't think he's as naturally fast as heavyweight champs, but when, you know, speed dirt horses are switching to the turf, sometimes you just never know. And this guy, Bustin' Away, has a bit of turf pedigree that I thought was kind of intriguing. I know Bustin' Stones isn't the greatest influence, but when you want them in turf sprints.
He's got some, yeah.
You want them in turf sprints. They don't run long on the turf, and generally they don't necessarily run long on the dirt either. But this guy, he's 3 for 3. I remember liking him a lot when he made his 2-year-old debut, and he was so game, so gritty to win up there at a fairly decent price against a decent field at that point in time. And the dam, while she was 0 for 3 in her career, her 2 fastest numbers did come on the turf, and there's a 2-year-old half that just won its debut out in California
But it's
on
the
the turf.
only one that won from the dam. The other 3 were bad.
Right, but this horse is run.
No, I'm saying the other 3 from the dam that ran the turf were
first
not
3.
good. The one that won just won in California a week ago or something,
Yeah.
5 furlongs. Yeah.
Right.
I get it. The problem I have with this horse, and listen, he's a reasonable enough price, he's going to be bet off dirt form. And I almost wish, if you like this horse, I wish he ran a 64 last time and not an 86.
Right.
And I'm not taking a horse off an 86 buyer at 5.5 furlongs at Finger Lakes. On the other hand, he did beat Don't Lose Cruz, who came back in his next start and ran 12 buyer points slower when he won. And he's not really a horse that matches up the 85 he got. So
I agree.
That may be a completely separate conversation, the one you're having, but he's going to get bet because he has an 86 fig. I get it. He's got speed. But the other thing is, right, with heavyweight champs in here, how is he necessarily going to get the front? And even, isn't Ira going to go with grand opening? I think, unlike Barbosa, who just incredibly foolishly rode this horse last time, was he going to beat Doc Sullivan? I don't know. Probably not. but he certainly
Yeah.
wasn't going to beat him when you were the lone speed in a race and you were sitting last down the backstretch,
was
and the
weird.
horse to beat was in front.
Yeah,
that was
was
not a
weird.
good plan.
No.
But he comes back on short rest. He doesn't have a lot of turf pedigree.
does
They're taking a
not.
shot. I get it. I looked at the 5. I hear what you're saying. I want to see it to believe it.
No love for Fidel like Coyote. That just rolls off your tongue.
Greg and I were trying to figure and
I asked Darwin to say it to me, and he said it similarly to Fidelite Coyote.
as Jason Blewett would say, the son of Leah Frick.
Sounds good to me.
That's going to work for me. No,
I thought he was really game last
he
time.
did run well, but unlike the big Torpedo, I don't think that he's going to be a 5-furlong horse. He is
did break his
improving. We
maiden
can show his
5.5 on
replay
the
last
dirt.
time, Eddie. You're not on the cues today. You're not in your game. Late night last night or something?
Maybe it was the way I pronounced.
Well,
and
okay, at least
butchered.
he owned it. I agree, he did
Nonetheless.
run well. I was more disappointed that Move to Gold just sort of hung. He did run well, and he's improving. I don't trust this guy going 6 furlongs.
I understand, but he does have tactical speed going long. So same thing with the big Torpedo, and he gets a rider upgrade to Javier Castellano.
You don't think it's possible that either heavyweight champs or Freesdale handle the turf? The Dam did win on the turf. No, she didn't win. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of turf, a smidgen with Freesdale. Heavyweight champs.
If you go back
produce-
a generation.
Yeah, did produce a turf winner. I don't know. I'm a little worried about heavyweight champs wiring the field. To be honest with
Absolutely, I hear you. It's funny, Solomini, as of now, we've only seen 2,
Right.
well, like a crop and a half from him. We haven't seen that many 2-year-olds this year. And outside of Solo Shot, who won the female division of this
He's
2
really
days
improved
ago,
the turf.
he hasn't had that many turf winners.
Right. No, I'm on the fence with him, and it's hard
Me
with these
too.
sires. I agree. I put them in there. I thought Courtney Banker was a little bit interesting.
Absolutely, turning back.
You know that his Barclay tag once worked for a famous trainer, Frank Whiteley. This horse ran well at 5 furlongs and was kind of a bit of a runoff last time. I don't like the race he's coming out of. But I thought this horse was a little bit interesting getting back to his sprint.
Right. I'm not sure about the quality and the fact
I
that
agree.
he's
It
still
may
a
just not be
maiden,
good enough.
But I thought he ran really well because he did expend a lot of energy. Kind
He
of
probably doesn't
not
want to go that far.
Javi was fighting him by any means. He was just doing a little bit too much, and he still dug in and tried.
He doesn't
approaching
want
the
to go
wire.
that far. I think he'll be better sprinting.
I haven't seen him physically, but he does, at least in the replays, look like a small, typier, handier type of horse.
It's an interesting race.
It really is. It's a fun race.
But unlike Maggie, I'm rooting for Tom Worley to do well.
I
Race number
can't take him at a short price.
Race
that
number
guy.
4. So, of the 2 that have run in here that are going to take money, I much prefer a horse that you don't like at all, and Granadilla. I've just had enough of Focus Pocus. I know he tried to go a mile last time,
I've had enough of
but
her too.
he came up a good rail, 2 back, and he couldn't get it done. He opened up. And at least with Granadilla, I felt like he actually ran pretty well last time because this race completely and totally fell apart. And the other speed in there ran a 33 buyer and had run a 56 buyer in his prior start. So I think there's a chance that this horse is a lot better than the last race looks. And I'm going to go and run that run because, Maggie, I just don't like picking first-time starters in these races.
I hear
But
you.
Cruz de Catalina seems like a very dangerous one for Riley Mott.
Yeah, I mean, those workouts are quick. And yeah, the Churchill Downs surface has been quite glib in the morning. But, going back and, again, you don't know. A lot
Take a
can
look.
change.
Here it
but
is. A year ago, his 2-year-old work.
she worked 10 flat.
2-year-old work.
She was asked a little bit here. But watch as she really kind of lowers herself into stride
agree.
here. And there's a lot of reach, a lot of extension to her stride, but yet she's definitely a sprinting type. She's quick. And she doesn't look like she's going 10 flat. She looks like she's going a bit slower. And for me, that's always a really positive sign that there's some quality to a horse. And I thought there was plenty of pedigree to kind of fall back on. Not the greatest influence of Catalina Cruiser, who's only a 5% debut sire. And usually progeny wants a little bit longer, but this is the bottom side, I think, is pulling through on this gal, as she is a sprinter. I don't know. There was just too many things to like about her, and I feel like of the horses that have run, I've seen their song and dance.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. We've seen what they can do, and they may win. But if she can run, she's going to probably beat those horses. But I got to tell you, I'm rooting for Saratoga.
Heck yeah.
How are we not rooting for our man?
I
Nick
know. I don't
Saratoga?
have her here. I get the feeling looking at pedigree.
I had to put her somewhere.
She probably wants a little bit longer than this.
Now, do you think this is named for Nick's daughter or for Nick? Of course, Nick Santagata, who many of you know, the legendary
Did
rider,
you
works
know
less of Valet.
that
Great
Nick
guy.
Santagata's daughter is married to Joe Migliori's wife's brother?
I think I do know this, but she worked for us. Were you here?
She did?
She worked in marketing. Marketing? You know, she worked here for us years and years. It's possible it was right before you got here.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
I've been here a long time, though you've been here for most of it. Yes, very, very nice. And of course, we love Nick.
Yeah.
And Nick won over 4,000 races, and he won them the hard way.
He was in
Nick's
Maryland.
crazy
That's
also.
how I know Nick.
Everywhere. He was everywhere. From the Eastern Seaboard,
Nick
Nick was there.
Meadowlands at night. I mean, hardest
Great
working guy ever.
Great guy. We love
Yep.
Nick. He's still riding horse in the morning. Yeah. You've got Paula's star sister in there. It's Kai Barcoa day for you. I haven't seen Ibar in forever. When's the last time you saw Ibar?
That's a great question. I feel
like
like I saw him up in Saratoga because Kybar rode up there
really?
last
I
year.
haven't seen him in
And I
a
think
few
he was
years.
in Saratoga last year. I could be wrong about that.
Hope he's doing well. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he ran. Speaking of the Meadowlands, he won a couple races for my dad.
Really?
Oh, a turf sprinter, Smart Sonny. Don't ask me why I remember this.
Ibar.
Ibar, yes.
Ibar,
We're going
Ibar
back
was
to
Ibar was a
2000?
sensational rider.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
strong rider. Race number 5 is one of 2 divisions of this maiden race, and I got to tell you something. I feel like
This is the stronger?
You could be. I
no,
feel
the
like you
last
could be
second
all
position.
over the place in these races.
These are
I think
great
there's-
races.
Yeah, I think there's. It's very hard, and I'm going to start with the one horse who I have fourth, you have second, La Salvadorena. For Ray, and Ray had entered her sprinting, and the race got rained off, and so he's running in here, and
Was it sprinting?
yes, definitely
Okay.
rained off sprinting.
Okay.
I'm
I thought it was
99% sure. Though Ray, you can text me if I'm wrong or not.
Ray texts one of us.
Ray loves to text during talking horses.
He loves
She
it.
didn't break that badly and settled back. It's just that it was impossible for her to get a seam really to run through till it was too late, and the winner had just sort of run off on the front end. And she was running at the end. She ran a legitimate figure. She gets shuffled back a little right in there. It's like Flavian realized I've been dealt kind of a lousy hand.
Yep.
I'm just going to have to hope for the best.
Yep. And she's the only one to make up any ground in this entire race. And I'm a little bit bothered by the fact that the winner was 25-1. But I
Me
thought this
too.
was a really good showing. And, there's
She's on the
pedigree
rail in red. There you go. Good job.
with
Great
this.
job.
Yeah, with the shadow roll, she's going to run up to the rail now.
You can't really see her making that final run, but she's running.
She really is. And Oscar Performance, long roll in the bottom. Why can't this filly go a mile? I don't see why not.
No, I agree. Look
she's
at her
closing
there.
the gap.
Yeah, no, she really
Only
finished.
one closing the gap.
I just had other horses I wanted to put in there,
This
but
is
I've
a
got nothing against her.
This is a very intriguing race. I mean, there's so many ways you can go in here.
I think Dancing Dean, who I have second you on top, is very dangerous. She's going to have to improve, but she
I thought
was in
she
a
was the
tough
one
field.
that gets lost. Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I don't know. I don't know who's going to get lost here. She might. We'll see.
And look, she was in a race, her only turf start out of 2 career outings, and that race basically dominated on the front end by Isaac. Oh, I can't never say her name.
She sat second, right? She sat second, or was she in
Yes,
front?
Before You Go was on the lead, and
Yep.
Wasaku was on the sitting behind her, and she's gone on and won the Florida Oaks. Before
Oh,
You
she's
Go
good.
Go's.
Did she get hurt or something?
I think she did.
She must
after
have,
that.
because she has not run since the Florida
Exactly.
Oaks, right? She would have run at Churchill.
She's a little
Or
bit
the
of a
Wonder
tail swisher, Dancing Dean, which I don't love, but she was running on and kind of, again, the only horse that made up any ground in that race.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings. I wasn't sure how much to run at the end, but the 62 buyer can become a 75 to 80 buyer quite
Right.
easily from 2 to 3, and I agree with you. I think she's very dangerous. So why did I go with Quaff? Quaff is a bit of a guess on my part.
Took money first time out.
Took a ton of money first time out.
I remember Richie
and
really liking her.
The dam is all turf. Out. I'm not saying she was great, but it's a
She
turf
was very
family.
good.
And the second dam was a synthetic horse. It was
Yeah.
actually a pretty decent synthetic horse. And I'm just wondering if they got this horse wrong the first time and ran the wrong surface. I've never had a conversation with Chad Brown about this horse at all. I know nothing about this horse from him whatsoever.
And just the facts, Jack really just ran the field off their feet last time.
It's also a pretty cool name.
What?
The
Quaff?
dam is Hayworth, and the name is Quaff.
Yeah, I like
Rita
that.
Hayworth and stuff. Peter has some very great names.
I know. I like that. The horse that ran at Monmouth yesterday, who finished second, Pale. Oh God, Shade of Pale.
Well, Shade of Pale is.
Yeah.
Do you know why that song is one of my favorite songs?
Why?
Because they used to play that song quite frequently, and anyone that's been to a lot of Grateful Dead shows know this. When the show would end, and the lights would come on, and sort of a quiet moment at shows, and they would play Lighter Shade of Pale out of the PA. Right after it.
That's cool.
There's a lot of other horses to talk about here.
I love that song, by the way.
It's a great,
Sorry,
it's a great
completely.
song. Procol Harum. American Kestrel. You know, this horse ran off on Luco Panici, and I think Kay Davis is a very interesting choice for this horse because she gets horses to settle. Now, obviously, last time.
I don't like that field, though, Andy.
I don't either. But this horse ran off, and I'm not in love with this horse. I want to put someone. What about the 5 for Christophe? This horse has plenty of pedigree.
Plenty of pedigree. I had her 5th. I just thought that maybe a mile was actually going to be a little bit too short, just purely based upon pedigree being a half to foreign relations, who is like a mile and a half type of horse. The dam, I mean, she was 3 for 9 on the turf. I respect this horse. I'm not going to be surprised when she can jump up and get the job done at first.
What do you do with this Fate of Gray, who the dam wasn't the turf horse? One foal was okay on the turf.
Brother's running in the last.
Oh,
you
really?
realize that?
Oh, no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
the
brother,
one that ran last year's.
Yeah.
No, wait a second. Not possible. Because the one.
Yeah. No, the brother is running in the last.
Oh, the
race.
last. I'm thinking of the other division.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Look at the works this horse has on the dirt. And
So
then
why
Todd
is he
Ledger's
on
put it
the
in
turf?
And
Going a mile.
Counterintuitive things like this are very dangerous.
I know. I just couldn't make sense of it with the pedigree either. Look, she could be speed, but she has got to do with American Kestrel, one would think. I didn't know what to do with her. I put her in 4th just because she scares me. But
You've got Just So Pretty in there. I mean, she ran fine last time. The problem with this race is there's only so many spots to put your picks.
I know.
And I kind of went to horses I thought would be sort of better prices. I'm with you on the 8. I'm going to hope the 9 can handle the
there is
turf.
literally not one horse in here that would surprise me.
No, this is a really, really fun race. I'm looking
Not
forward to this
one.
race. We will take a break, and we'll be back with the late pick 4.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We're back, Maggie and Andy, and race number 6 changed dramatically when Mondego came out.
Yeah,
because
speed.
he was the speed, and he was the horse to beat. So it's changing it. And I think a first conversation, and wow, Maggie just completely dismissing her Maryland roots. Crabs and Beer.
I mean, there is not a better name for a Maryland bred than Crabs and Beer because that's just bliss.
A great name. It's a great name.
It's bliss. Crabs and Beer are, I mean, just like cookies and milk.
Yeah, I'd rather have some crabs and beer, to be honest with you.
I don't know.
though
I'd rather have crabs and beer followed by
You might have
cookies and
noticed I like some cookies. The problem with this horse is that he's stake-faced, running second, the stake running B, dead heated in yesterday's stake in Monmouth.
On
But
a
this
ball,
was
though.
such a weird course that
just
unless
didn't
you can
know.
make a case for this horse outside of this race,
the
and listen,
problem.
he did run a distant second to running B with a good trip back here in November, so I don't want to completely throw him out because I think you're being a little too much of a wise guy throwing him out, but I'm not clear on him either.
I know.
But I don't love anybody here, Maggie.
No,
I'll be honest.
that's
I don't
the
like this
problem.
race.
Actually, I do.
You think
I
that you,
hate coming up here and saying this to you. I just have this feeling about Dripping Gold.
he's going to go to the lead with Flavian. Because there's
Exactly.
no real speed with him out, and the 4,
Yeah.
6, and 8 all have speed. And when that's the situation, Flavian's one's going to go.
And
Here's
he
my
was
problem,
sawed
Maggie.
off at the start last time.
I get it. I don't like any of his other races. That's my problem with
got
this
it.
horse.
I got you. I mean, he was beaten by Tulane twice.
Yeah, that's my problem. It's like when he won by a nose at Keeneland, he got an absolutely great setup. What was his excuse in these other races? You know, he had some good trips. But I agree with you. There's a very, very good chance this horse is going to be in front.
I just, exactly. I have this feeling that now with Mondego out, that he
They've
is
got to
going
go.
to just,
They've got to go. They've
Yep.
got to go. I agree.
And I thought he ran kind of sneaky well in that Churchill Downs race. And also, I'm kind of banking on the fact that now he's a 5-year-old, you know, reached his physical maturation, hopefully, because this is a horse that mentally has had a lot of issues. Remember, he was the one that kicked Anthony Hamilton, Shug's assistant, in the head
Saratoga.
and knocked him out
In
as a
Saratoga,
2-year-old.
right?
Yep.
Oh, gosh. I didn't
Yeah.
remember that he was that horse. Wow. He's not untalented. I don't disagree, and I had all the same thoughts as you. I went in other directions. I am not going to knock a pick in this race because I don't have any feel for this race whatsoever.
You
And
were with Don, who I don't.
he never wins.
I know.
And we'll take a look at Tulane coming to him. And Grand Motion actually has okay numbers coming off of long layoffs. The problem is that Tulane probably has to get a little better. And I know he beat Daunt, and everybody beats Daunt. I'm hoping Javier's in a good position. Dripping Gold may be in front of him, but I think he'll be behind him. He's second off a layoff. And the thing about Daunt is he always shows up. The problem is he pretty much never seems to win.
I know.
But I thought his price would be okay enough. I put him, I'll be honest, I thought about picking English Conqueror in this race.
Yeah,
Another horse
his
who could be
Saratoga
forward.
race was fantastic, I thought.
I agree. The problem is, I know he beat Cross Border, and unfortunately we lost Cross Border, but he was sort of off and on. I don't know where Bear Oak ever came up with that race, to be honest with you.
Another one.
But he has run other races that are good enough, and I don't think he's impossible, and he should be forward as well. I've got it 4-6. I could have gone 6-4. Could have used either one of these horses. The horse that we both don't like is Bays,
Boys.
who just took advantage of a collapsed race 2 back, and I'm just not a fan of this horse.
Ditto. I mean, yeah.
I should have put Tulane over him, actually. I like Tulane a little bit, too.
No, I do like Tulane. And look, I am probably going to kick myself for not having Crabs and Beer in there. And it's not like I don't like the horse. I just want to see him run a similar figure on a firm turf course.
It's a very valid point. There's a real chance that he's completely dressed up by the fact that he ran on a soft course, but he's just not impossible. I'll be honest, I felt like Mondego, whether you liked him or not, was the solid
key.
center of this race. And with
Exactly.
him coming out, to me, it's just an
kind
elusive,
of-
difficult
right,
race. And
right.
listen, you've come up with a bit of a price, who I agree with you, I think is going to be forward. Race number 7. So I have a question. What are we going to get from Reserve Currency? And here's his last win before Ray claimed him, when Ray claimed him. And I don't think he ran that badly, but, and this is not a knock on Ray, but I wonder how long you can expect this horse to hold his form. And frankly, I think that's why Ray is dropping him.
And wasn't he kind of one of those horses that took a little bit? Well, I mean, to be fair,
He's had some good races at times.
and I
He
was
did
going to
beat
make the
Maggianera
case
here.
of-
I know it's a conditional claim race, but this was a pretty strong conditional claiming race.
I didn't know what to make of him, Andy, because so often we do see these horses, you know, claim from Chad that don't necessarily go on, but
He ran fine first time for him.
right, and that race dominated more towards the front end. He was a bit keen early too, kind of tossing his head from the kickback, and I wonder if Ray decides to put those blinkers on to kind of focus him in and get a little bit more speed from him, turning back.
That'll be interesting because he's never had that much speed. I like Mr. Swagger like you do. I'll let you
Same.
talk about him. I think he's just getting class relief.
Absolutely. Just Call Ray was a they knew horse last time at Monmouth. You know, that was kind of a wide open, not loaded field, but there were a lot of horses in there, 11 runners, and he took money throughout until like the very last, you know, pop of the gate, and he went up to 5-1 that day, and he was just so much the best. And this horse actually didn't run that badly.
I agree.
He had a little bit of traffic down the lane and just kind of stayed on evenly. And he's a horse that has always showed promise. So getting back to a 1 turn, which his 6.5 debut is by far his best race that he's ever run.
I like this horse. I mean,
First time for a tag. It's not like Juanavilla has bad numbers.
He's 6 for 24 at Naira on the dirt with a positive ROI, 248. I think he makes a lot of sense in here. Are you worried at all that he's pace compromised?
I don't know. I almost wonder if you do get a little bit more pace just because of it being one turn.
I mean, Thank You, John is listed as the main speed. Isn't Pineapple Man going to be forward in this race?
Yeah.
And I think he's dangerous, Pineapple Man.
Trust him.
I don't trust him at all because the way Mike Maker dropped him down. Now, to be fair, he didn't run well first time. He ran better for Michelle last time. I'm just not sure if you can trust him at all.
I don't.
I mean, we saw this race obviously very similarly.
I
didn't want debate.
Who?
I'm not saying he can't win.
Debate, yeah.
His last race.
He did take a lot of kickback. In that Saratoga track throughout the weekend, we saw horses just really unable to run through it.
If I could get one thing, I think we talk about kickback too much on the show.
Sorry.
I agree with you. I don't mean this show. I mean on the show in the afternoon. I agree with you about Saratoga. I think that sometimes we talk about it so much, though, that I think that we, as you know, you've been around horses your whole life. Horses learn to run through kickback.
Right.
It's just some kickbacks are severe. And I think in 2022 and perhaps this past weekend, not last year, but this past weekend, Saratoga, the kickback may have been severe.
And you can see it, right?
Yeah.
You can see it even in the running of a race when those horses suddenly, go from being dark bays to light bays because they're covered so much. That's the tough kickback to run through.
And it's one thing with 2-year-olds, first-time stars, they're going to have trouble with kickback. Takes a couple races to get used to it. And I think the fact, it's something also because in 2022, I kept thinking it was a speed track.
Yeah.
But very few horses were running exaggerated figs that were speed horses. Mm-hmm. And that means they weren't really being helped by the racetrack.
No.
So to me, that says it's something else. And I just think as time wore on, for some reason, horses weren't able to make up ground. And at that point, when it becomes so pronounced, you have to think kickback has to be playing a role. And I have to think, now, Looms Boldly ran a ridiculously high fig. For the most part, we didn't see a lot of exaggerated figs. And the bigger figs we saw, Ways and Means, she closed. Horses that weren't even on the front end. You know what I mean? Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
He sat fourth. Even General Partner wasn't right on the front end. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it was carrying horses along in the front.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of horses completely failed.
Those horses with the dirty faces.
Look at the True North.
Right.
The whole, I'm not knocking Baby Yoda. He was a legitimate winner of the race, but I'm saying everybody else just completely failed to run it all.
That freak of nature at Saratoga.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying he didn't run well and he wouldn't have won anyway. I'm saying a lot of horses that can run a little bit did no running in that race. And I just wonder if we saw too much of that. But, I think we have to be careful with kickback because while it can be relevant somewhere, sometimes I think it's not as relevant as we suggest it is. No. Maybe I'm wrong. Just my feeling.
No, I agree with you. And
horses
like
learn
you
to run
said,
through it.
Horses learn to run through it. It's not, I don't.
2-year-olds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. Anything else in this race?
Nope.
Race number 8. This is another one, and I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of copped out here. I think Latte Lizzie is better than these horses. And you know what's funny about her last race? And I meant to actually ask Chad Brown this. It appears to me that this was a race that was carded as a synthetic race last time.
Because it's not an X.
What?
Usually it's an X.
Is it?
If it's
even
off
if it's
the
synthetic?
Turf. Yeah.
Okay, so because I looked through
It's
and
an X
nothing
in the
indicated,
diamond.
and I couldn't find anything to say that it was carded for the turf. Her turf races last year were good enough to compete here, and I don't think she got the best trips in those races. Last race, was she a little disappointing? The Chelsea Flower, maybe. The winner's pretty good. I'm thinking routine improvement. She's better
Zara's
than these.
Good.
Maybe
I
I'm taking
totally
a short
get it.
price, but
I am slightly against her because I never liked her as a 2-year-old,
Okay.
but just physically. But that's me with my hang-ups.
You're against horse that Tom Coleman named for his daughter? That's
Sorry,
really
Tom.
kind of cruel, don't you think? I have something in my throat, and I'm going to have a little of this. Go ahead.
Oh my God. If somebody named a horse after me, I would still say the same thing.
Has anybody named a horse after you?
There was Maggie's Lad, but that was more like for Tom.
That would be for Tom. Nobody
Yeah.
named a horse for you?
No. That's fine. I don't want a horse named after me, for me.
Probably the horse's name for you is they usually aren't very good. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, no.
There aren't a
If
lot
you're
of Frankels.
involved-
For every Frankel, there's
Right.
100.
If you're involved in racing, you know better than to name a horse after like your loved ones. Like if you are really in the trenches, but like I find people that are just like, oh, I bought a horse, I'll name it after my grandchild. Those are the horses that turn out to be really good.
Well,
that
I
are
know
named for loved ones.
But there is Cousin Andrew. Beats, who you have on top, and I have second. The question with
Low-key
Beats
love
is
this name.
whether or not it's a great name. Whether or
love
not
Beats.
you think this horse can get the distance, because this horse ran huge. You see the horse got left. This
Well,
was
look at her.
some
Look at the
performance
size
by
of
this
her.
horse.
And this is as a 2-year-old. She wants to go long.
This was
I'm
some
sorry.
performance by her.
She's 4 to 5 wide throughout. She'll circle the entire field, and Rosie Jeeks is just alone on the front end doing her thing.
Yep. No, I got no argument with you. This horse ran last time.
She ran, and I kind of took Bill Mott horses in both of these divisions that I'm banking and hoping on the fact that they're just going to be better as 3-year-olds are going to be able to improve their figures, because I thought that they showed enough promise in both their turf debuts to say that they could move forward.
And of the two sprinters, I think this horse ran a lot better than Private Property did when she was in her last race. Now, she did lose to Marco T, who's okay, but I wonder if she's going to necessarily get that much better stretching
so
out.
Private Property runs a 66 as a 3-year-old, Beats runs a 64 as a 2-year-old. So there's
While
way
5
more
wide
upside.
after getting left 2 lengths.
Right.
No,
there's way more upside with Beats than there is with Private Property.
Did you think, so I know David likes Goodnight My Angel. I didn't think this horse did any running last time. I mean, she's a little wide.
Right. She did travel 2 to 3 wide. I thought throughout the entire running of the race, she had a little bit of traffic down the stretch, but it was kind of her own fault because she was lugging in.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, she could come back and improve as well. And Memorialize on that particular day was pretty impressive.
She's been disappointing. She's the one that we all thought would be overbet because she had the trip against the Colonial
everybody
Downs
forgot
and paid
about her.
6 to 1, and everybody's
Yeah.
after the race like, what kind of idiot was I?
Right.
What do you think of Strife? We'll show the race in synthetic last time. I don't know if you looked this up. I found a crazy stat for Christophe Clement.
Oh, what is it? I just
Synthetic to turf with maidens.
He's what?
He's 1 for 25 with a 16% ROI and only 4 hitting the board.
I mean, she
in their
was
second
entered
starts,
for
he's
turf.
1 for 12. This horse was entered for turf? This was a
Yes.
turf race? Okay. So
Yes.
how can you oh, it's the X,
X
through it.
in
I
the
see.
diamond. Yeah. And this is massive turf pedigree.
I agree.
Especially if you go back a generation. The dam, she was 1 for 6 on the turf, but the dam's Have to Chocolate Ride, multiple graded stakes winner, as well as Killer Graces, grade 1 winner on the turf. I don't like this field particularly, but again, it's an off the turf race, so.
I've got her in there too. What about Pay the Bills? I'm going to say one thing. Wooten Bassett was like, they thought he was the next Stormcat, right? He was bred, he read to like 10 horses and they all won.
He's
but
written
he's
off.
been a bit of a disappointment after that. And it's just like, I've talked about this with Seth, I feel like all the Wooten Bassets just aren't that good.
Could be.
Could this be the first one that can run a little bit? I know nothing about this horse
I
at
don't
all.
know. They paid Seth paid $204,000 equivalent at the Arcana yearling sale. If you go back a generation, the third dam produced Ektot. Remember him?
Hey, Todd?
Ektot. Oh God, he won the Joe Hirsch for Todd.
Oh.
Right?
How do you spell it?
ECTOT.
Ektot. I vaguely remember him.
Yeah?
Wow. Okay.
Um,
I know nothing. I have no idea if this horse can run or not.
I
Hold on.
looked at her yearling videos of her walk.
Wow.
I liked it. I don't, but I don't know. Look,
While Maggie was forgetting about Father's Day, she was looking at the yearling videos of this horse's walk.
Happy Father's Day, Tom.
You knew what you were
Priorities.
getting. Maggie's an open book.
So look.
We got to
We
roll.
both
You got to
have
go. You got to go soon. So we got to roll because we got to talk about the last race. We're just having too much fun up here. Race number 9. I thought this was a crazy tough race. I'll start with Operation Torch, and this is the half you were talking about. And we've agreed on some funny races where I just thought there were a lot of horses that could win. This horse ran fine last time. I have nothing against this horse. I wonder if a little more distance isn't necessarily going to be great for him.
It's the long shot, Scat 2 Tap. That's the half to the
okay.
Todd Firster in the
Oh,
fifth.
okay. Oh, cool. Two Brutus.
Yeah, I know, right?
Two Brutus Chad?
No,
Todd?
wasn't it? No. It was Contessa, wasn't it?
Oh my God, you're right. That's that course that ran that huge figure.
Coming from
that crazy Beyer
South
fig.
America.
With 120 or something Beyer figure.
Yeah.
119 in
Yeah.
like the Brooklyn,
Brooklyn
or
or
something.
Suburban or-
No,
yeah.
it was a longer race, but a
Okay.
mile and 3/8, mile and a half. Oh,
On the
God.
dirt.
Oh, my God. I remember that horse. I got no problem with this horse. I didn't want him either. You've got him third. I wonder if a mile and an eighth, but he ran fine last
Battle
time.
of Normandy. Yeah. Wait. I'm sorry. Operation Torch.
Yeah.
Exactly. I thought he hung a little bit though. in
I
that
agree.
start.
I agree. I mean, Bruce had a better trip. He didn't have a bad trip. Bruce had a better one. Harry Hood, you have second. Okay.
He
We're
might
going
be
to
a
show the
Gulfstream
Pan American.
horse.
I wonder if he's a router. I wonder if that Mark needs to find mile. I may have just be none. I think this is a horse that just improved dramatically with more distance. Maybe it's Gulfstream, but I don't know. A lot of horses didn't show up in the last race. And Tawny Port ran fine yesterday. A lot of good horses just completely failed to show up in the Man of War. I wonder if he's a horse just needs more distance.
Possibly.
Mark needs to find a way to get him into some races that are long.
He won a mile and an eighth here though.
Yeah, but the mile and eighth race isn't good enough, I think, to beat these.
No.
That's my problem.
I get
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But you're a big Fish fan, so that's why you've got him in there.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
Fish
me.
song, right? Harry Hood?
It is, I believe. No.
Here's our horse, Battle of Normandy.
Yeah, Battle of Normandy. Look,
Kentucky Downs.
don't worry about the Churchill race. It was on the dirt. The horses that he's facing
I agree.
in both of his greatest stakes efforts as a 3-year-old, I mean, they're just.
Farbridge, program train, web slinger. They would crush this field.
This field.
I thought he was a little too moto.
I know. What price is he going to be?
He was a little
Hasn't
wide, but
won
this
the
was
one.
before they took the rails down, so being wide
Oh yeah,
wasn't a
that's
big
right.
deal.
But the horse that won was on the rail for the most part.
This was the trip that Farbridge shouldn't have taken. He went for the money. I agree. I think he's very logical. I've got him in there. I've got him over the 9 Samburu, who I just thought was in a race that, he made that big middle move last time. I think cutting back in distance will help him up. He tried to close in a race that was dominated up front, 2 back, so I thought he made some sense in here. But I think a lot of horse win. I can't pick the entry because it's an entry, and both of them have a chance.
I get it. Yeah.
No, you got him third. I'm just...
No, I know, but I do like this horse a little bit better. Days
The
are
one?
coming.
Okay.
Yeah, with a little bit more ground, wired by I Know So High. First start in a while. I think he could move forward from it.
And Ramblin' Wreck just seems to have lost his form. Can he re-find it? I don't even think the Royal Spirit's impossible in here.
No.
He got some pressure last time, Maggie. It was a lot of
And
fun,
there's-
as it
yeah.
always is.
Likewise.
Once again, a happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Head over to Naira Bets. Get Dad a Naira Bets account. There you go. Use the promo code
Dylan, he's a
MATCH200.
dad. Happy Father's Day, Dill.
Yeah. I don't love that picture of Dylan. I think it's a goofy picture of Dylan. I'm sorry, Dylan.
I think you would
do.
say the same thing.
I just think it's a funny picture. Anyway, use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. While you're over at Naira Bets, check out the track trends. Our man Matthew DeSantis made a little trip to Monmouth yesterday.
Good to see Matt.
Matthew is producing content for Naira Bets like...
He's going to have a YouTube channel, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited.
The Matthew DeSantis YouTube channel.
Well, no, it'll be the Naira Bets YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Starring
AKA.
Starring Matthew DeSantis. We have a pick 3, pick 4s, races 2, 3, and 6. We have a cross-country pick 5, 3 at Monmouth, 2 here. All of these races, which culminate with the Get Serious, the last race, race 10. That was the last race, but it's one of their last races.
Who texted you?
No, well, Aragona's pointing out to me that Wooten Bass has had 2 top Euros. King of Steel, last year's Rio Cup
yes,
TV Turf
duh.
winner,
And I knew
unquestionable.
that.
So he's had some success. We look it up because, his stud fee has risen even there. 11. Thank you, David, for that. It's
Yeah.
just a horse that had so much. It's just the ones that have come over here for us that we bought haven't seemed to have panned out very well, and maybe that's just what it is. They can't all be Kingmen. 11% win bonus on a spectacular bid, race number 3, and we got the show. And what could go wrong here? 12:30 to 2 on FS2, 2 to 3 on 1, 3 to 5 on 2, 5 to 6 on FS1. So we're on from 12:30 to 6. We'll be moving around. It's not hard for me. I go from 400 to 401 or 401 to 400.
Huh?
FS1 is on 400 on my cable and FS2 is on 401.
I don't have cable anymore.
A lot of people don't.
YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of
On the
people
TV,
don't.
yeah.
I'm a dinosaur.
No,
If
you're
there's-
not. I'm
if
a
there's one
weirdo.
person left with cable, it'll be me.
Yeah.
I'm making up for all those years in Brooklyn I didn't have it. Anyway, Maggie, thanks. Maggie has to get to work. I'm going to go to my office and finish up Friday's card. We're done. Chris Griffin's just getting revved up. Have a great day, and happy Father's Day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringWater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.